A few weeks ago, Mickey and I were just sitting in his park looking at the ducks and the squirrels and that. And I just finished this video, but I don't seem to be able to find it. But the wording on the right here kind of explains it anyway for me. So this is from, obviously, the internet. But we're just going through all this stuff here because there are so many different churches. And Sven was talking about it. Like, he just couldn't believe that when he was where he was in near Bournemouth, in this very short distance of maybe like, oh, I don't know, a mile, there was 13 churches in it. And you know, he was like, wow, why so many churches? And then it set me on this homework. That is John Calvin. Anyway, it set me on this path because we were I'd made the video and we're sitting in the park, and the vicar from the church, we want to go back and have a tour around with him and maybe record some of it. He's quite a young guy, maybe like, I don't know, maybe 30s, 40s. And I explained to him that I realised what churches were all about. A lot of them can decide to be different churches because of where we get our sin from. Did it come with us? Do we get it here? So churches believe in different ways of getting the sin. And then, of course, about just before Henry VIII, just when Henry VIII is finishing into Elizabeth I, there comes this 30-year war about Protestants and Catholics, because the Protestants, the Protestants wanted reform to religion, and in the end this is how they broke away, and they kind of did, didn't they, with Henry VIII, but only 2 years before he died, so I'm not quite sure how all this sort of works out exactly. Also, just adding, by the way, when you see this word here, it's got Tarian on it, just like Tartarian, Trinitarian, Tartarian, Tart, Trin, Tar. So maybe that has something to do with it, although this is Wikipedia and they're explaining, you know, what Tartaria is. It's all documented that it is this part of the world, and you've got mud floods and hidden past, and the fact that it was an advanced civilization with was a lost civilization with advanced technology and culture. It just ignores the well documentation of the history of Asia. So they're saying Tartaria is that part of the world, but because we see it everywhere and all over the world, I don't know. But then we've got the churches, and just what I put in there: Trinitarian, Tartarian. Anybody got any ideas about that? Okay, but I'm going to read what's on the right. It says a Catholic is a person who has received a Trinitarian baptism, as well as the sacraments of confirmation and whatever that is in the Catholic Church, and its communion with the Bishop of Rome, as evidenced by accepting all the teachings of the Catholic Church, professions of faith. This is important. What makes you a Catholic is not just the sacraments or saying you're in communion with the Pope. These things are part of it, but the real key is accepting all the teachings of the Catholic Church. One can be active Catholic or a lapsed Catholic, but as long as one still accepts the teaching of the Catholic Church, one is a Catholic. Right, so we're going into part 2 in my video. A Protestant is a person who has received the Trinitarian baptism and still believes in the Trinity making him or her technically baptized Catholic or Christian. So, when I was talking to the vicar, I told him that I'd realised that, you know, this bit about the sin, and so they were able to make all the different churches, but basically what it really meant was a Protestant is just protesting against some of the Catholic ways, but it doesn't say you're not a Catholic. And in there, this is what this says. So you're still baptised as Catholic. It says it here. Technically a baptised Catholic or Christian, but rejects some of the teachings of the Catholic Church. This is very definition of the word Protestant, which means one who protests. The word protest is written right into the word Protestant. This is important because a Protestant is always baptized Catholic or Christian, meaning one who received the Trinitarian baptism and still believes in the Trinity but rejects other Catholic teachings. It doesn't really matter what the teachings are. It could be teachings about that, and it goes on. So basically, a Protestant is a Catholic who's protesting. When have you ever heard that? So I told the vicar, and I couldn't believe it. I was with Mickey, so I've got a witness. Mickey's the witness. And he understood. He said, I know what you're talking about. And so I said to him, so what do you think you are then? And he said, although he was a Protestant, he believes more the Catholic way. And in fact, that's why originally we thought he was a priest. And then when we were talking to someone else, he said, no, that's a Church of England, because he looked like a Catholic. So although he was Protestant, he still saw he was a Catholic. And that is the only difference. See all this? Lutherans, however you say it. There's loads of them. Evangelical, Methodist, Protestant, Catholic. There's more. I'm covering a few just a little bit here on the left. But what it is they haven't really broken away from the Catholic Church. They're just branches of it. And I was so shocked because I found it on another article and I can't seem to find the video with it on, but I'm glad I found it again. So you are baptised Catholic, but you're protesting against. That is it. And that makes the Protestant Church, because you're a protesting Catholic. And this is how all the other churches happen. So there is only Catholic. They're just branches of it. I was a bit shocked at that, but utterly delighted that the vicar had understood what I'd worked out and what I said. And in the future, me and Mickey we will go to the church and have a tour around. It's just, you know, anyway, we haven't got round to it yet. I actually wondered whether it was all to do with John Calvinist, because he changed everything. But I'm not sure about that because the dates are different. And I even wondered whether it had something to do with the War of the Roses, but that was before Henry VIII, whereas this happened with the 30-Year War at the end of his reign. Here they are here. There's Anglican. Here are all the different churches. Huguenots. Baptists. I can't say some of the names. It's a little bit, it's a little bit, you can read all that if you want, because I made a video, and yeah, I'm just really shocked that that's all it is. And this is why there are so many churches altogether, because they can pretend that they're different churches, but they're not really. Nearly everything, except obviously if you are a different religion, but all the churches that I just showed you there, they are all Catholic. And they just get out and become Methodist or or evangelical or whatever it is. They become that because they have decided, and I think I'll show a picture on here in a minute, you know, they have decided that they want things a little bit differently than the Romans. I was really shocked. You know, I'll read it again. It says, a Protestant is any person who has received the Trinitarian baptism and still believes in Trinity, making him technically baptized Catholic. So when did any Protestant, or whatever you want linked up into this, what does that make sense to you? Have you ever heard Protestants being described as a Catholic who's protesting against some of the Catholic ways? In England, it's all about Henry VIII and everything like that, and you know, we've had the War of the Roses, Henry VIII, there's Elizabeth I. You know, it's quite a lot of history and things going on, beheadings and all sorts of things going on. But I couldn't believe it. It's like we've had well, they say 3 Roman empires, we've had 3 German Reichs, same thing. The double eagles and eagles, same thing. All to do with the Romans. I think, because the vicar said, I'm not a Holy Roman. So that one is obviously a little bit different to him than a Roman Catholic. And, yeah, I was trying to find out in this bit where I'm looking now, you know, because obviously Elizabeth I was there. And, you know, she, in the end, gave way to the Armadas coming from Spain, and they would have been Catholic. And we know that in our history, there's the 30-Year War. That is to do with the Catholics and the Protestants. But we know that they were Catholic, the Spanish, and they were fighting. So it kind of makes sense. But, you know, every time you look at something, there's always a different war, different treaty, differentness. But they're all together and so forth. I'm just hoping to come, because I was desperately last night trying to find the video and then trying to go on the internet to find what this person here is saying. And so I just think it's disgusting. Seriously disgusting. Oh, we must have gone past the pictures because the video's finished now. But it's seriously disgusting that that's what it is. Protestants are protesting Catholics. Anyway, what's your thoughts on that? I say I worked it out for myself because I could see the sin thing. You know, one believes the sin is with you from, you know, and comes when you're born, and one believes that you get your sin here, and it goes on, and the changes make the different churches, as well as obviously there's a few differences, but that's why Protestants are protesting Catholics. Have you ever heard that before in your life? It's all crazy. Anyway, what's your thoughts?